Welcome to Let's Talk Buffalo, a student-produced radio talk show on WBNY 91.3 FM. This week we're bringing you an episode full of spooky stories shared by Production Technical Manager at Buffalo State's Performing Arts Center, Tom Kostusiak, also Ron Schwartz and Andrew Borchik. We wanted to hear what students' favorite Halloween movies are to watch. Keep listening and you might hear someone say yours.
We are at the Performing Arts Center in Rockwell Hall. I am with
Tom Kostusiak, Production Manager.
Janiyyah Christopher, Communications Major.
Armando Giangreco-Marotta.
I'm Sarah Chime, Media Production.
Danielle Gabamonte.
Dorothea Braemer.
Brian Milbrand.
Andrew Borchik.
And my name is Brandon Nightingale. So we've heard a lot about Rockwell, especially like this area, being supposedly haunted by a ghost. Can you go into a little bit of a detail about that?
There are some weird things that happen sometimes in the building. Theaters are historically, not want to say historically haunted, but many spaces, theaters, in fact, they have what's called a ghost light. Like you never leave the lights off on stage. And the reason you don't do that is because if the orchestra pit is open and it's dark on stage, someone might fall into the orchestra pit and die. And that's why you always want to leave at least one light on in the auditorium. And we don't have one, but people will manufacture what's actually called a ghost light, which is a light that you bring out at the end of the night. It's got a light bulb in it. It's on like an old mic stand or an old speaker stand or something. You plug that in, you turn it on so that there's always a light burning in the space. The reason we started calling this, whatever you want to call it, the stacker phenomenon is because in June, we do a series of dance recitals. So lots of local schools come in, local dance studios, with little kids up to teenagers, up to adults, and they perform. They come in here for a week and they perform. So the first thing we do in a preparation for that month is we put about 100 chairs out in the hallway. So this is after classes. No one's really in the building except us. And those chairs stay out for an entire month. And we did our first dance recital. Yeah, so we went down into the sub-basement of the building, and we walked down that hall like 3 or 4 times. And then I was standing down there, and I saw Professor Rick Fleming, who's the director of bands, and he had come out of the sub-basement because that's where his room is. And he came down, and he asked how it was going, and I was like, oh yeah, it's Tiny Tap Dancer season. And he says, oh, have you had any yet? And I'm like, yeah, we had someone just last week. And he was like, well, where are the chairs? And so we would line this hallway with 100 chairs. Because I'm so used to seeing that hallway the way it is, I've probably walked down that hallway 10,000 times. And I realized that all the chairs were missing. And I'm like, what's going on? So then we went back down into the sub-basement.
We really hope that events, like the campus movers, didn't come and think they were from events management.
Right, and take them away.
And take them, yeah. So we were kind of freaked out.
And this is how these are stacked.
Yeah.
This is how they look. And we keep them in the sub-basement in storage. We went down, and all the chairs were back on their carts in the sub-basement. Now, we didn't do it, and I even went down to Rick, and I said, Rick, I was thinking the same thing, like, where are all the chairs? Yeah. I'm like, did you? He's like, why would a band director professor put chairs away?
140 chairs alone. It's just not going to
happen. Then maintenance wouldn't do it because those chairs, we've been putting those chairs out for 25 years. So that's when we came up with the name, the stacker,
right? Because
we couldn't realize. And then we started thinking about like other things like the speaker cabinets getting put back in their place and things like that.
Were you as surprised as we were to learn about the ghost in Rockwell Hall? Have you had any experience with poltergeists? Give us a call at WBNY at 716-878-5104.
Speaking of scary topics, we walked around the student union to find out what the Buffalo State students' favorite scary movies are. Hi, do you mind if we interview you for Let's Talk Buffalo? We're just trying to see what your favorite Halloween movie is. Okay, what's your favorite Halloween movie?
Halloween Resurrection.
Oh my God, did you see the new Michael Myers?
No.
What's your favorite Halloween movie?
My favorite Halloween movie is Halloween, from like the Michael Myers one, but from 2009 though.
Are you a giant?
Yeah, because that Michael Myers is brutal. Like He wasn't joking. But that one, I like that one and the one in 2007 too.
Hi, what is your favorite Halloween movie?
A Nightmare on Elm Street.
I loved that movie as a kid. Are you ever sometimes afraid because of like Freddy Krueger or something?
No. I just like a lot of horror movies, and I feel like that was like actually kind of scary, somewhat a little funny, not gonna lie. I have like a dark sense of humor.
Hi, everyone. I'm here in Warren Enters Theater with
Ron Schwartz. I'm the production manager and technical director for the theater department at Buffalo State College. So my encounters out in Buffalo are mostly centered around the what was in the 90s the Pfeiffer Theater. It's now the Town Ballroom, but its original history was that of the Town Casino back in the 40s to the 60s, which was like the premier nightclub between Chicago and New York. A lot of big names played there in the time, but there's a lot of sordid history with it, which leads to a lot of conjecture as to things that would happen. One of the biggest things about working in the building was what we would consider like phantom sounds, just things that we would hear that we could not explain and had no reason for them to be in existence while we were in the space. So one of the encounters that we had, which was a regular occurrence, that on either side of the auditorium there's what we call vomitoriums, basically hallways that would take you from backstage to the front of house. And though the house left one was notorious for, we would hear footsteps all the time, like hard-soled shoes walking on the concrete.
Were they like very loud and audible, or were they just like faint and in the background?
Oh, very, very, very loud and audible. I mean, it was to a point. I mean, you could hear it in the auditorium itself. I mean, and that's how we knew. I mean, the security system at the time was like we could set it up with, it had like motion sensors. So a lot of times if we were working in certain places in the building, we would set set it up so if somebody came in, we would be notified. You know, it would make an audible beep throughout the building to let you know that there was somebody else in there. But you'd hear footsteps without hearing the beep. So really kind of like questioning what's going on, where the heck's those sounds were coming from. But yeah, you'd hear them like right over your head, knowing full well that the motion sensors in the area above you were engaged. So yeah, odd.
Hi. What's your favorite Halloween movie?
Okay, my favorite Halloween movie would I got one. Okay, my favorite Halloween movie would have to be. I'm still okay. I like Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is really good.
Oh, Tim Burton.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's got Michael Keaton in it, and Michael Keaton.
All right. Okay. What's your favorite scary movie?
Nightmare Before Christmas. It's a bit of it counts as both. It's a good crossover, I feel. Yeah. And it's a very genuine film.
Are you a big fan of Tim Burton?
To a degree, yeah.
Did you watch like Sweeney Todd, like the musical?
Yeah. And the Coraline being the similar idea. I like Coraline a lot too.
Ooh, Coraline. No more.
Okay, I changed my answer. My favorite Halloween movie is A Little Shop of Horrors because it's an awesome musical. It's got some really cool plants in it that are giant puppets made by the Henson Company. It's directed by Frank Oz, who voiced Miss Piggy and Yoda, and it was got Rick Moranis. I love Rick Moranis.
We had shut down for the night, and we were in the lobby counting tickets, because we were house managing, and we started hearing music playing in the house. And every time we went into the house, the music would stop, and then when we get back out in the lobby, we hear it again. It was like Charleston music from like the 20s or something going on, like a big band thing going on stage. And once again, it wasn't even part of the show that was currently running, but it was just weird. Like I said, those weird sounds that would just come up with no explanation.
Since you've encountered these things, do you have a different perspective on this topic?
No, I don't know. I tend to be very skeptical in my life, but just once again, the encounters that I've had, the things I've witnessed, the things I've felt through this, really kind of makes me question sometimes what is really out there.
I'm here with Justin Sejek, and he's going to tell me his favorite Halloween movie to watch and why.
So, on a nice, crisp fall night, if I'm looking for a good Halloween movie, I'm going to turn on The Conjuring. 1, 2, or 3. I don't have a preference. They're all very good. I've seen them all. and they all perfectly describe a case covered by some legendary ghost adventures. So each one has a great plot for each case. Good acting. It's scary. It's genuinely scary. That's why it's a good Halloween movie, and I would recommend it for many people.
But this is one of the original buildings on campus.
Now, we're back with Tom Kostusiak and Andrew Borchik, this time talking about the former psychiatric center at the Richardson.
So these buildings go back to early 1900s. I think these buildings were built. Was it 1911 maybe? I don't remember exactly when they were built, but early 1900s when they built these 4 buildings, and these buildings were built on what was farmland for the psychiatric hospital. Years ago, and this just popped into my head, but years ago, campus storage, when I started here, was in the psychiatric center. And it was all the way down on the west end of the complex. And if you notice how that complex is built, it's a series of buildings that have these arched or curved corridors, right? And leading to the main towers where the Hotel Henry is. So in the very last building is where campus storage was when I started here 26 years ago.
Oh, by Reese?
Yes, by Reese. And whenever you need a file cabinet or a desk and you're the new person, you can't buy anything new. You have to go to campus storage and pick out some used furniture. And I went over there, and that was like chills in there because it was decaying. And if you knew anything about the history of the psychiatric center, the worse off you were mentally, the further away from the towers you were. And so the idea was so that as you got healthier, you would move closer to the towers, and then with the hope of ultimately being released. So going over there 25 years ago, like if there's a building on campus that I'm convinced is, I want to say haunted, it's those buildings at the Reese end of the psychiatric hospital. That was cold drafts, floors that were missing. You just felt something there. And so I don't know if this stuff being built on farmland, land that was farmed by the patients at the psychiatric hospital, I don't know if that has anything to do with it. And it's only, and like I said, we don't really think of it as being a spiritual thing or necessarily a ghost thing. It's like an odd happening.
So, have you ever felt the ghosts around you?
No, actually, yes. Oddly enough, most theatrical spaces usually do not have air conditioning in them, right? So usually in the summer times they're very hot. And I remember one time when I was working there, I was in the green room doing something in the green room, and as I was exiting out of the green room, it literally, and it had to have been like one of those days where it was like 80 degrees outside. So it was really hot in the theater. And as I was passing through, I literally felt like something had passed through me and chilled me to the bone. I mean, I remember dropping to the ground on my knees and just shivering, and once again, no explanation for it, no air conditioning in the building, just one of those things you just felt, chilled to the core kind of deal. That's when I really started to respect the building, and treated it like it was its own entity, and just always, it was funny, whenever I would come in, I would always say hello, and I would always say goodnight when I left the building, just to let them know I was, I'm in your space, and, now I'm gone.
This Halloween episode of Let's Talk Buffalo was produced by
Alessia Gervasi,
Armando Giangreco-Marotta,
Professor Dorothea Braemer,
Brandon Nightingale,
Janiyyah Christopher,
Danielle Gabamonte, Sherry Cha,
Brian Milbrand.
This episode was edited by Armando Giangreco-Marotta.
I hope that everybody had fun listening to this episode. What was that?